Good evening, study partners. Tonight is Motzei Tzom Gedalia. It's the end of the fast of Tzom Gedalia, and so it's appropriate that we are studying from the tractate of Taanis. Taanis speaks about, of course, fast days. Earlier we spoke about a progression of seriousness in the fast. It starts off when there's no rain. It starts off with just distinguished individuals. And then it moves on to the general public for daytime fasts, and then night and daytime fasts, and so on and so forth. So we're picking up in the chapter 3, where we're going to continue to discuss the fast days. Now, tonight's lesson is dedicated in loving memory of my dear mother, Rivka Bas Rav Shlomo. May her neshama have an aliyah. Seder Taanis Elu Amor B'Reli and Shreina. All the fasts that we were talking about, that we start fasting, it starts with the distinguished individuals fasting. All this applies when the first rain was withheld. Usually rain falls in the month of Mar Cheshvan, and when it misses all of the days in Cheshvan which they expected rain, which is usually the 3rd, the 7th, or the 17th, so then we start gradually ordering these fasts, again, starting with the distinguished individuals, moving all the way to the public. Avol Tzmochem Sheshanu, in a case where the plants have changed, meaning to say, it's not a rain issue, it's a agriculture issue. The rain fell normally, but the crops, for whatever reason, changed drastically. If thistles grew instead of wheat, for example, or
the plants died for lack of water,
or not, it's not a rain issue, but an inferior type of barley grows where normally good barley would grow. So this is a change in the plants. So this is considered a much more serious event. Rain sometimes comes and goes at different times. And so we start off and we gradually uptick the level of fasting until we get to a level where we are actually sounding the shofar and the trumpets. So in any case, but when the crops change, the plants change, masrin alei miyad, immediately we start with the sounding of the shofar. And this is a symbol that this is a serious concern. Further, in addition, if between one rainfall and the next rainfall there's a span of 40 days, so again, this is a severe concern. It's not like the rain season has been delayed. The rain season already started, and now all of a sudden it stopped. So in such a case, Masriyan alei miyad, we begin sounding the shofar immediately. Mipnei shehi makas batzeres, because this represents a calamity of food shortage. And so, therefore, to show the severity of the situation at hand, we bypass the earlier stages and go straight to the 3rd level where we are sounding the shofar. Mishnah Beis. Yordu litzmochin aval lo yordu li'ilan. If appropriate rain fell for crops, but not enough for the trees. Alternatively, if it's the other way, la'ilon v'lo latzmochen, or if it came in some quick rain pours that go steep into the ground, but are not necessarily healthy for the crops. So, or a third scenario, lezeh v'lezeh, there's enough rain for the crops, and there's enough rain for the wheat. But not enough for the water holes and the ditches and the caves. See, there was no plumbing with water towers back in the day, like there is today. And so they needed for water holes, they needed in ditches, they needed caves, cisterns. In all of these above cases, ma'asrin alei miyad, we sound the shofar right away. Meaning to say, we don't wait. If Pesach arrives and we don't have all the caves or all the ditches or the water holes filled, that's a big problem. And so, as soon as we recognize this shortage, immediately we sound the shofar. It's time for everybody to do teshuvah. We need God's mercy and God's compassion. V'chein, similarly, we're going to sound the shofar right away. If you have a particular city that the rains are not falling there, and such a thing was prophesied that in Amos, I will cause it to rain on one city, and on another city I will not cause it to rain. One field will be watered, and the other will not be. So here, in such a case, we recognize that this is ordained by God, that for whatever reason, this city, although all the other surrounding cities have water, and this city doesn't have water, this shows that this is a heavenly decree specifically against this city. And so in which case, we don't start waiting periods of time in order to increase the severity of the situation. We're not going to wait and say, oh, maybe it'll rain later. Right away, it's important that people start doing teshuvah, and God will hopefully then relent and bring rain to that particular city. So in such a case, oisa ir misano umisraas. So again, the surrounding cities have rain. One particular city doesn't have rain. So says the Mishnah, oisa ir misano umisraas. That city right away begins the fasting and begins the sounding of the shofar. The chol sviveiseha, and all of the surrounding cities, the ones that surround it, the bordering cities of this city, that's the anomaly that doesn't have the rain, misanes, they too engage in fasting, but they don't sound the shofar because they have rain. Now, why are they fasting if they have rain? So, two reasons. One reason is that they have to sympathize with their neighbors. Their neighboring towns, and their neighbors are in a difficult situation. So, Kol Yisrael Arivim Zelazeh, we are all guarantors one for the next. We're all affected by the happenings of one another, and so we want to help them out and we want to show sympathy. Another reason is when one city doesn't have rain, guess where the people are going to do their shopping? In the nearby cities. While this might sound nice at the outset, there's a long winter ahead, and then there's a long summer ahead, and a long year ahead. And if they're now buying from you, so there's going to be that much less to be purchased in your city. So this can directly affect the surrounding cities. And so being that this can affect them, they too share in this tshuva process, and so they fast, but they don't sound the shofar. The sounding of the shofar was considered a very serious sign to do teshuvah. Normally, we sound the shofar in Elul, and on Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, the Jubilee year, specific times, but not for normal fast days. We'll get to that soon, but not in normal situations. In the city, we're not normally sounding the shofar. So this is a serious sign. Rabbi Akiva flips it. Rabbi Akiva says, Masriyas, v'lei masanes. The neighboring towns, they sound the shofar, but they don't fast. According to Rabbi Akiva, the fasting is the more serious of the two. However, the halacha is does not follow Rabbi Akiva, but rather the Tanakama, in which we said they would go ahead and fast, but not sound the shofar. You following?
Historically, there were more fast days, and essentially those were lost to us.
We're going to get to some of that. A city, similarly, what does this mean similarly? Similarly, we right away sound the shofar. We don't wait for a progression of difficulty and of tzaras for the Jewish people. Rather, we right away begin to sound the shofar. A city that has pestilence, or a collapse of buildings. That city begins fasting right away and sounding the shofar. The whole Svivaiseha and all the surrounding cities, Misanes v'lei Masriyes. The surrounding cities, they fast, but they don't sound the shofar. Rabbi Akiva says, Masriyes v'lei Masanes. Again, he holds just as he did in the previous Mishnah. He says they sound the shofar, but they don't fast. Ezeu dever. So now the Mishnah goes on to quantify what exactly is pestilence. Pestilence literally means people dying. You have a city that produces 500 men on foot. That's what the terminology here is referring to. Men, soldiers, adult men. V'yatzu mimena, and pass away from this town. Shloisha mesim, v'shloisha yamim, zeh achar zeh. On 3 successive days, a person dies. Harei dever. This is pestilence. Pachas mikan ein dever. Less than this, it's not pestilence. Which means, if 3 people were to die in 1 day or 2 days, that's not a serious anomaly in which we go and start fasting and sound the shofar. But the idea that one person for 3 successive days, at least one person dies on 3 successive days, that's an anomaly. That's something that we have to be concerned about, and so we begin fasting and we sound the shofar. Al elu masrim b'chol mokem. For these plagues we sound the shofar everywhere. Al hashidofin. For wind blasts, winds of gusts of winds that are so strong that they ruin kernels of grain. Bala yerokein. And on for yellowing of grain, when the sun beats down so strong that the grain turns pale or yellow.
You sure that's not because of some kind of, like it catches a virus or something?
Well, it's from the heat.
Oh.
That's what Rashi says, and that's what Rav says. It comes from the heat. So in such a case, That's a serious concern. Ala Arba, when we have numerous locusts, a locust plague like they had recently in Las Vegas. Ala Chosel, or for finishing locusts that eat absolutely everything. Al Chayara, Ala Cherev. Chayara is when wild beasts present themselves in the city during the daytime. Nighttime, it's usual for wild beasts to prowl around.
But they're hungry too.
But at night, people are home. And at night, it's not considered an anomaly that we need to start fasting and sounding the shofar for. But when wild beasts are seen during the day, when they're usually hidden, that's a serious concern. Valacherev, when armies are marching through a city, they're not marching against the city, they're marching through the city. So they're on their way to some sort of war. So right now that puts the whole city in danger. There could be other armies coming to try to cut them off and ambush them. So long as the army's there in town, we're all at risk. Lo yaleinu. So in such a case, masriin aleh. In all of these cases, we sound the shofar right away. Because this is considered literally a traveling plague, but a quick progressing plague. This can turn very, very bad very quickly. So in such a case, in all of these cases, we begin sounding the shofar. It happened once that the elders from Yerushalayim were coming down from Yerushalayim la'areim to their cities. Because Rusainis al shenirachem loy fisaner shidofin ba'ashkalain. And they saw a wind blast the size of an oven's mouth. It's not terribly big. On grain in Ashkelon. And when they saw this, they saw that there was a small area of grain that had a wind blast on it. Immediately they called for a fast. This is just underscoring the point that we made in the previous Mishnah, that this can go south very quickly. This can go bad very, very quickly. And so therefore they didn't wait for this to progress. Right away they wanted people to do teshuvah, so this can be stopped in its tracks. Beyond the Jordan River, it happened once that wolves had devoured 2 children, and they established a fast. Rabbi Yasi, he says, you got the story wrong. It wasn't because they ate children. No, that's not what happened. What happened was Ela al Sheniru. They were seen in the city during the day. That was enough. It wasn't an actual case where they ate children. Just the fact that these wolves were seen during the day, and normally they're not seen during the day. This already was a divine sign to get your affairs in order and do teshuvah. And so they established a fast so that people would do teshuvah. Al elu masrim b'Shabbos. On these calamities, we sound the shofar on Shabbos even. Al irshik fu goyim. If a city is surrounded by hostile Gentiles who are threatening to attack, there's a siege, immediately we sound the shofar, even on Shabbos. Or if there's a river that's coming to flood, starts flooding into the borders of the town, we sound the shofar right away. Or if there's a ship that's storm-tossed at sea. In all of these cases, we sound the shofar right away. Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi clarifies this in his opinion. He says that this is we're talking about here. Why are we sounding the shofar on Shabbos? Normally we don't sound the shofar on Shabbos, correct? We just had Rosh Hashanah. If it would have been Shabbos, we would have not sounded the shofar. Only in the Beis HaMikdash, as we've discussed in Rosh Hashanah. In any case, Rabbi Yossi is explaining that in his opinion, why are we sounding the shofar in all of these cases? To summon up help. That people should come and aid the situation. So if there's a siege going on, we need to rally the troops from within the city. If there's a flood, people need to climb to higher ground. If there's a ship being tossed at sea, so people can go maybe try to rescue them. Shimon HaTimni Omer Afal Adever. Shimon HaTimni says that also we sound the shofar for the dever, for pestilence. And there's actually a discussion. Ultimately, it comes out that that not only on Shabbos do we not sound the shofar for dever, but according to the Chachamim, we don't sound the shofar for pestilence even during the weekday. We just begin the fasting process. Al kol tzar shloi savei la'atzibur, on whatever calamity that shall not befall the Jewish people, the community. Masriyan Allah, we sound the shofar. Chutz mirev kshamim, except when there's a lot of rain. Ma'aseh shomru lo yilechini hamagel. There's a famous story. It happens once that the people told Choni Hamagel. We'll find out why he was called Choni Hamagel. The Choni, the Magel, literally the one with the circle. Hispal she'erdu kshamim. They spoke to him. He was a great tzaddik, and whatever he would pray for would come to fruition. They said to him, Hispal she'erdu kshamim, please pray that rain shall fall. Amar lahem. He said to them, go and gather in the Pesach ovens. The Pesach ovens were still not dry. They were made from clay and they were still not fully dry. Because it's going to rain so much, they're going to otherwise rot away. They're going to dissolve. He began to daven and the rain didn't fall. Ma'asa, what did he do? Og uga. He circled the circle of Amid V'Seich and he stood inside. V'Amar Lefonav. And he said before it, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, Bonecha Samu Fneihem Alai. Your children have have turned to me. They've turned their faces to me. Shani ben Bayis Lefonecha, because I am like a ben Bayis, I'm like a member of your household. Nishpo ani v'shmecha hagodol. I swear by your great name, she'eni zoz mikan ad sheterachem al bonecha, that I will not move from here until you have mercy on your children. Hischilu geshamim menatfim. Started to drip, drip, drip. Amar leichoch sha'alti. Said Choni Hamagel, this is not what I asked for. Elagish mevoires, shichin ma'ores, but for a rain, a real rain, a rain that will fill the water holes, the ditches, and the caves. It started to fall with a vengeance. Amar leichoch sha'alti. He said, this is not what I asked for either. Elagish merotzin, but proper rain. Normal rain. Bracha nadava. Blessing. Rains of blessing. They came to him and they said, Keshem she'espalalta aleim she'erdu, koch espal she'elcha lahem. They came to him and they said, just like you prayed that the rain should fall, please go and pray that they should go away. Go see if the Even HaToyim has been washed away. Even HaToyim was this large rock in which people who had claims it was like a soapbox, so to speak. They would get up on this big rock and proclaim their claims from there. That's where they would make machaz. Machaz is a protest. If somebody's in their field or whatever. Shola, and in any case, the Yerushalmi explains that, it's explained in the Mefarshim in Yerushalmi that his point was, this was a massive rock and obviously it couldn't be washed away. And his point was, just like the rock can't be washed away, so too prayers for rain cannot be just washed away. And this is underscoring the point that we said before, that we can pray for rain to come, but we can't pray for the rain to leave. After this, Shalach Lei Shimon ben Shotach. Shimon ben Shotach, a great sage. He was famous for once executing 80 witches in one day. In any case, he said, this stunt that you pulled, that you make a circle in the ground and sort of force the hand of God to bring the rain. If you were in Chone, such a great man, because I would have decreed upon you excommunication. What was his point? His point is like this. Back in the days of Eliyahu HaNavi, for example, Eliyahu HaNavi controlled the rain. He was such a great prophet. When he said rain, it rains. When he says it doesn't rain, it doesn't rain. He was of a different caliber. So, essentially, Shimon ben Shotach's point was, you come and you make a circle and you demand in public that God bring the rain. What if there was another righteous man who had sworn that it shouldn't rain until a certain point? Now, God has to listen to one and not the other. So you would have desecrated God's name. One is swearing by God's name it's not going to rain, and now you're swearing that you're not moving from here until it rains. You can't just take control like this. So he says to him, I would have, if you weren't Choni, if you weren't the person you were, I would have put you in a nidui, excommunicated you. But what should I do to you? Because you are like a favorite young child before God. And he does your will and he fulfills your wishes like a son who makes himself like a young child before his father. And the father does his will. Concerning people like you, the pasuk says, Yismach avicha v'imecha, may your father and mother be happy, rejoice, and be glad. V'sogel yiladatecha, and may she who bore you rejoice over you. In other words, Choni HaMagal was such a special man that he had the ability to tell Father, our Father in heaven, give me this, and God gives it. Like a favorite child who the father can't hold back when the child wants something. Mishnah 9. If they had been fasting, talking about a fast that started at the nighttime, and it starts raining before the sunrise, so they don't need to finish the fast. It already started raining, and so there's no need to fast for the rest of the day. But if it starts raining after the sunrise, so it already has taken hold as a fast day, and so therefore, even though it started fasting, the cause has gone away, they nevertheless finish fasting. Rabbi Eliezer says, if it, not just in the morning, but if it began to rain before midday, Chatzos Hayom, which is much later than the sunrise, of course, so then they stop fasting and they don't continue the fast. But if it starts raining only after midday, so in such a case they finish the fast. And he brings an actual occurrence to support that the halacha is indeed like he just said. Maisa, there was an actual case, that they had decreed a fast day in Lod because there was no rain. And just before Chatzos, midday, it started to rain. Rabbi Tarfon.
Chatzos is midday.
Midday. There's Chatzos Halayla and Chatzos Hayom. Here we're talking about Chatzos Hayom, not Chatzos Halayla. Rabbi Tarfon said to him, Tzu v'ichlu shsu. Go eat and drink, vasu yamtav, and make a big yamtav. The yatsu, and they went out. The achlu, v'shasu, and they ate and drank on that very day. Vasu yamtav, and they made a big feast. Vo ben arbayim, and they returned to the shul. They had been gathered in shul fasting. They returned to the shul in the afternoon. V'karu halal hagadol, and they recited the great halal. And so this is a proof text. This is a story from a proof that indeed, if the cause of the calamity goes away before midday, we stop fasting. If it's after midday, then we continue the fast. And so we pray that the only fast that we should know in the future should be the fast of Yom Kippurim, a fast day that we welcome. It's a fast day that's not about calamities, God forbid. It's a day that God wipes away our sins and God brings us ever higher. A day that we elevate ourselves beyond the angels. A day that we experience a unity with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is a day we're happy to embrace. We pray that very soon the Tisha B'Avs and the Tzim Gedalias and the Shavasar B'Tammuz and the Asara B'Tevis and the Taanis Esters will all go away via Hafchu Yamim Elu, l'sasein u'lesimcha.
Amen.
Next Wednesday will be Yom Kippur. So, of course, we won't have class. We will see about the Wednesday of Sukkot. Stay tuned for information either in our bulletin or on our website. We'll let you know what will be with the Wednesday of Chol HaMoed. In any case, everybody have an easy, meaningful fast. And stay tuned for the next class where we will conclude Masechtas Taanis, which is will be with the 4th chapter. Have a very good evening.